Alright, hey, shalom, Akim, shalom. First and foremost, as always, before we get started, giving all praise, honor, and glory unto our power, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, the elders of Great Millstone that have taught us His truth and that rule well. And peace and blessings go out to the hopeful members of the elect, scattered throughout the four winds of the earth, that are in the hopes of receiving salvation or mercy during the time of Jacob's trouble, and that are worshiping the Heavenly Father in sincerity, in spirit, and in truth. All right. Now, in this lesson, I want to get a couple accounts within the Gospels where we get the idea of how Yahushua, all right, as it tells us in Hebrews, the 5th chapter, was obedient through the things that he suffered. All right. And although Yahushua was the Son of Man, all right, he had the power to send legions down. He had the power to get things popping, but as he submitted himself and, took the position of a man, all right, and played, being humble, he did what he had to do, man. Through that sacrifice that Yahushua gave, he had to put himself at a very low state, all right? And as we're going through the process where we're, going through the last refinement methods of this ministry, all right, we got to go through the same course that Yahushua took, man, all right, of not only being obedient unto death, but also, getting in line with prophecy, man, all right? And when it comes to this topic, it's something that, should be something that we think about, and I'm speaking first and foremost to myself, but it's something that we should meditate on, because as we come closer to the time of the end, we got to understand, Akim, that things are going to get real. All right. Again, today's the Passover. It's March 1st. All right, 2026. And a lot of things are cracking in terms of prophecy, man. And as we understand, when we tune into the Gospels and we read about Yahushua's last Passover, all right, a couple hours later, guess what happened? Judas came in with his kiss and he gave him to the Roman authority. All right. And it could very well happen to where in these next couple months, Esau comes in with his little agents. All right, as Apostle Tahar coined this year being the year of apostasy, sellouts, and agents, things could play out within that narrative, man. All right, so we got to be ready for the unexpected. We got to understand what this lot comes with, and ultimately understand that we're walking the same walk that Yahushua did. All right, but as he overcame first, we already know what the deal is. All right, not only is Yahushua with us, but he's given us the blueprint as to what route to take. All right. So with that being said, Lord willing, this is an edifying lesson for you, brothers and sisters. All right, the first precept that I want to get is in Matthew 26, and I'll start at 41. But within this little, couple of verses that we're going to read about, we get the gist of Yahushua being in the spirit where he started seeing the weight of the reality that he had to undergo, which was, of course, being that sacrifice for us. All right, and for anyone being in the flesh, you understanding that is going to put you in a spirit where you're in a heavy mindset, But nonetheless, Yahushua did what he had to do. All right? So this is Matthew 26 and 41. Watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. All right? And we all experience the cons of what this flesh comes with, man. All right? But through Yahushua's sacrifice, again, we've been given a perk and a blessing that is far above anything that this world can give you, and that's the spirit, okay? The inner essence to be able to thug out this affliction of where we're at and go through the straight gate, man, all right? And as a matter of fact, just for the sake of edification, let's get the word for spirit in the Greek. Let's see if we can pull out some little gold nuggets of information from this word. And the blue letter does not want to work. Originally, I was going to do this lesson on my computer, but for some whatever reason, the blue letter, as you can see on my screen, the blue letter's been acting up, man. But it's nothing but saying. All right. Yeah, ain't that something? Salaki, let's see if we can pull up the blue letter again and see if it's going to work for us. All right. It looks like it ain't. Salakia. So let's just pull it up at a different app. It's all good. Back in Matthew 26, and we left off around 41. All right, I'll read it again. It says, "Watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." He went away again the second time and prayed, saying, "O my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it, thy will be done." All right, and that's the mindset that we should have, man. All right, of course, every now and then we have our little episode where we're heavy in the spirit. We're going through the set, motions of what this lot comes with. But the bottom line of what we always got to meditate on and come to the grip of is accepting the will of Yahweh wa Yahweh Shai, man. All right? And that's what Yahweh Shai did. Verse 43. "And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were very heavy. And he left them and went away again and prayed the third time, saying the same words. Then cometh he to his disciples and said unto them, Sleep on now and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners." All right? And that's the same condition of what's going to happen to the elect, man. All right? Where they're going to be betrayed, they're going to have falsehoods be blamed on them in the hands of sinners. Jakes that don't want to get down with the spirit of prophecy, Jake that's just stuck up on bullshit. Okay? But this is all the condition of the battle, man. Again, in the last lesson that I did, I made a point about how being lied to sucks. All right? In the world, when you experience, the altercation of seeing that someone said something that you didn't do, it irritates you. But when it comes down to being blamed falsely for the sake of the ministry, of course you're going to get irritated, you're going to get mad, but the next instinct of what comes to mind should be that of accepting that this is what comes with us serving Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, man. All right? As Yahweh Shai did. Best believe Yahweh Shai in his spirit was probably, Judas is right around the corner, man. He better do but he understood the lot that he had to fulfill. So it says, reading on, 46, "Rise, let us be going. Behold, he is at hand that does betray me." Now, I did want to get this in the NLT because it says it in a very, it says it in a way where Yahweh Shai knew that Judas was right around the corner. Okay, Kahala Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai just pulled up 46 in the NLT. It says, "Up, let's be going. Look, my betrayer is here." So Yahweh Shai knew what time it was, man. And again, when you look this up, matter of fact, let's just do it real quick. What time was, we got to use the J word, of course. What time was Yahweh Shai arrested? It says, Yahweh Shai was arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane on late Thursday night. Of course, during the ancient times, there wasn't a thing called Thursday. All right, but it says Thursday night, or the 14th day, or early Friday morning, generally estimated between midnight and 2 a.m. Okay? So, it was out of nowhere. That's why the disciples were sound asleep. It was late. They were like, man, what's Yahweh Shai doing, man? Peter falling asleep, barely half awake. But Yahweh Shai was in tuned with what was about to happen. And that's the same vibration that we got to be on in these times, man, where Esau is coming down with great wrath because he knows that he has but a short time. All right? But what's going to be the benefit and perk that we have in our disposal is the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. That's how we're going to get the victory over the beast, man. And over everything that's going to come down the pipeline in terms of a temptation. Whether it's death, whether it's Esau trying to, what's the word I'm looking for, man? Whether it's Esau trying to break your spirit by, telling you that he's going to kill your woman, your children. These are things that we got to really start meditating on, man. Okay? Because it's happened to our forefathers in the past. Read about the story in 2 Maccabees, the 7th chapter, where you have the 7 Hebrew brothers being put to death one by one. Putting on the mindset of what that mother, all right, the mother of those 7 brethren had. because these things will happen, man. All right? Again, we're dealing with Esau Edom, the devil, the same man that tortured us gruesomely during the time of the 1600s. All right? Where he would slit the pregnant bellies of our women, grab the fetus, throw it like a football. This is who we're dealing with, man. All right? And the number one enemy that's on his list are the elect. And he's going to do everything in his ability to try and crack us. All right? But again, pursuant to Romans 11:3, the Lord has reserved 7,000 men that will not bow down their knees to the image of Baal. All right? No matter what happens, the elect will stand stiffly for the names of Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi, man. Just like Yahawashi did. All right? And again, imagine this happening to you. When it's late at night, your flesh is irritated. Just me speaking from experience, there's been times where I get woken up in the middle of the night and I gotta go drive somewhere over some dumb shit. And it'd be, in those instances, you're irritated, you're mad, you're just like, what the But that's where you gotta understand that the Spirit is working. All right? So let's keep reading and get the reaction of what Yahawashi did. And then from here, I'm going to read a little more, but we'll jump to a different gospel and get a different account of what John had seen in John the 18th chapter. But reading on in Matthew 24:47, it says, "And while he yet spake, lo, Judas, one of the 12, came, and with him a great multitude with swords and staves from the chief priests and elders of the people." All right? And again, when you jump to John the 13th chapter, prior to the Passover, what did Yahawashi do to every individual disciple, including Judas? He washed their feet. Yahawashi did something intimate with them where he served them. All right? So as our apostles have told us, man, in these times to come, you're going to see Jake that played the character of being a brother. You probably did this for him. He probably did that for you. And then when shit hits the fan, we're being persecuted and, being put on the chopping block as martyrs. A brother that you didn't know was an agent is going to come out of nowhere and show that he had that same devil in him, just like Judas. Now again, putting yourself in those shoes, you're going to get pissed the fuck off. This nigga really did that to me, man. Fuck. But that's where we got to be in the spirit of understanding that this is all the will of Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi, man. As Yahawashi did. Let's read about his reaction. It says, "Now he that betrayed him gave them a sign, saying, Whomsoever I shall kiss, that same is he. Hold him fast. And forthwith he came to Yahawashi and said, Hail, Master, and kissed him. And Yahawashi said," now going to the NLT, "My friend, go ahead and do what you have come for." Then the others grabbed Yahawashi and arrested him. All right. Now from here, let's jump to John the 18th chapter and get a different account that elaborates further on what happened within this whole interaction. All right. So this is John 18:1, and we'll get it in the NLT. "After saying these things, Yahawashi crossed the Kidron Valley with his disciples and entered a grove of olive trees, which is the Garden of Gethsemane. Judas the betrayer knew this place because Yahawashi had often gone there with his disciples." All right. The leading priests and Pharisees had given, and just a quick little footnote, the Garden of Gethsemane was, it was a grove of olive trees. All right. So, as you're reading this in the spirit, you get the idea that Yahawashi was having the oil pressed out of him to have the disciples anointed. All right. And what is the oil synonymous for? The word. All right. That's what Yahawashi was giving them at that garden. Giving them the proper breakdowns of what this parable meant, what that parable meant. Just a quick little footnote. It says, verse 3, "The leading priests and Pharisees had given Judas a contingent of Roman soldiers and temple guards to accompany him." All right. So it showed you the vibration of them knowing the capability of what Yahawashi could do. It says, now with blazing torches, lanterns, and weapons, they arrived at the olive grove. Yahushua fully realized all that was going to happen to him, so he stepped forward to meet them. So instead of Yahushua pussyfooting, instead of him, playing with his thumbs, Yahushua went head first into this lot that he had to fulfill, man. Alright? And this is the spirit that we gotta have. Now, real quick, let's get the book of Hebrews, the 5th chapter. Alright? I believe the point is at 5. Yep, it's in 5, but let's actually get this in the NLT also. Alright? And I also gotta remember that we're in John the 18th chapter. Alright? But let's get Hebrews 5 and 6. It says in the NLT, and in another passage, Yahweh said to him, you are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek, which in the Hebrew means Malak Tazadok, which is a reference to that being who? Yahushai. Alright? The first high priest. Someone that had no mother, no father. Alright? It says, while Yahushua was here on earth, he offered prayers and pleadings with a loud cry and tears to the one who could rescue him from death. Alright? And the Most High heard his prayers because of his deep reverence for the Most High. Even though Yahushua was the Most High's son, he learned obedience from the things he suffered. Alright? So again, as we're going to read in this account in John the 18th chapter, Yahushua could have gotten busy like that. At a snap of a finger, let a whole gang of legions of angels come out of nowhere and ransack the Roman Empire. But would that be aligned with prophecy? Of course not. Without Yahushua's sacrifice, we wouldn't be where we are right now, man. Alright? And this is the attitude that we gotta have, man. Understanding that as we go through this hell that's going to be uncharted territory that none of us have ever experienced, speaking to myself as well, we got to have the mindset that within the sacrifice that we make, much good will come from it, man. Pursuing the wisdom of Solomon 6 and 24, the welfare of the world is what? Matter of fact, let's get that real quick, and then we'll jump back to John the 18th chapter. Alright, but again, brothers, what we're doing is something very, very heavy. Alright, although in the world it looks something as of no value, in the heavens and in the spiritual world, what we're doing is a sacrifice that is sweet and savorable to the Most High, man. Alright, the book of Psalms tells us that precious is the death of his saints. Alright, so this is Wisdom of Solomon 6 and 24. But the multitude of the wise is the welfare of the world, and a wise king is the upholding of the people. And that's what we're striving for, brothers. To be a nation of kings and priests. Alright? And the whole method of us getting it is through afflictions. Alright? Just like our Lord did. Matter of fact, let's get it. Brothers should already know where I'm going. Hebrews 2 and 10. Alright? It says, for it became him for whom are all things, and by whom are all things, in bringing many sons unto glory, to make the captain of their salvation perfect through sufferings. Alright? So as the captain went through it, guess what? The servant isn't greater than the master. We got to go through it as well, man. Alright? But the fact that our captain did it should give you more than enough encouragement to go down this straight gate as well. Alright? It says, for both he that sanctifieth and they who are sanctified are all of one, for which cause he is not ashamed to call them brethren, saying, I will declare thy name unto my brethren, in the midst of the church will I sing praise unto thee. Alright? So, this is our reasonable service, Akim. Alright? This is our whole life purpose. Of finishing this course until the very end, whether it means us dying or being beamed up into the chariots. But the mindset that we should have is being able to conquer the last enemy, which is death, man. And the only way for us to do that is by having faith in no one else but Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi, man. As did Yahawashi in the scripture that we read in Hebrews, the 5th chapter. Okay? That's how Yahawashi was able to be obedient unto the last suffering that he had to go through. Okay? So back in John 18, I'm picking up on 4. It says, Yahawashi fully realized all that was going to happen to him, so he stepped forward to meet them. Alright? It says, who are you looking for, he asked. And just, in the spirit world, this will, once everything is done, this is one of the accounts that I want to see, man. Just looking at the face of how confounded Judas and them fucking Roman soldiers looked when they saw Yahawashi. Like, what the hell? He's right here. Because again, it was 2 a.m. They were probably going through, door by door trying to see where he at. They went to the Garden of Gethsemane, and then out of nowhere, here's Yahawashi. What the hell? But it just shows the mindset of how Yahawashi was obedient, Verse 5, Yahawashi the Nazarene, they replied, I am he. Yahawashi said, Judas who betrayed him was standing with them. Now this is the point. Alright, let me read it slow and really picture what I'm about to read. As Yahawashi said, I am he, they all drew back and fell to the ground. Alright? So, as Apostle Racha had broke it down, alright, he was the first person that I heard bring this out. So, ever since, it just really stuck with me. But when Yahawashi said those words, I am he, alright, the whole crowd had a push to show that this is the Son of Man. Alright? And that he has the power to fuck up everybody. But Yahawashi, through his humble abode of him going through the lot that he had to go through, didn't. And he, through that example of him having the ability to take it there, turned himself in to show that he is this lamb, this holy lamb without any kind of blemish, to be sacrificed. Alright, now, getting into the chat, I simply asked Chad to give us a bit of a breakdown on it, and it gives a couple good pointers. It says, in John 18:6, when Yahawashi says, I am he, and the soldiers draw back and fall to the ground, it's one of those moments that's meant to show something deeper than just a physical reaction. First, the phrase Yahawashi used, I am, alright, carries strong weight. It echoes how the Most High identified himself in Exodus 3:14 as Yahweh. Alright? Throughout the Gospel of John, Yahawashi uses this phrase in a way that points to divine identity, not just self-identification. So what happened when they fell? Alright? There are a few main ways this is understood. A display of divine authority. Many believe this was a brief manifestation of Yahawashi's divine power. Not necessarily him attacking them, but his presence and authority overwhelming them. Thinking of it as a moment where his true identity caused a physical reaction, they couldn't stand before it. So they were blown away physically to the understanding that this is Yahawashi, man. Now reading the second little definition, it says, even as he's about to be arrested, this shows that he is not being overpowered. Man, the fact that trained soldiers fall backward just from his words highlights that he is willingly submitting, not being taken by force. Alright? And again, within what we're about to go through, Akyam, we willingly have to put ourselves in that position of standing stiffly for Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi, man. Alright? Again, a conscious decision is going to be made pursuant to Revelation 13:16. If you take that mark, you're bound to be judged and be thrown into the lake of fire, which is a thermonuclear destruction that you will partake in. But if you don't, you're going to stand for what you believe in. And for us, it's standing stiffly for Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi, man. Alright? And that's pretty much what I wanted from there. But I thought it was really heavy, man. The other night, as I was reading this chapter, I was just like, damn. You know, I remember Apostle Racha breaking it down. And then when I filtered it through chat, it just further, gave that validation, so to speak, of how heavy this moment was, man. You know? So from here, let's go back to Hebrews. All right, Hebrews, the 5th chapter, because we didn't finish that. Just to further edify upon the fact of how heavy Yahushai's lot was, man. You know, and the mindset that we got to put on. As we're about to go through the same scenario. And Blue Letter's tripping today. Hebrews 5 and 6. 7. While Yahushua was here on earth, I'm also reading in the NLT, he offered prayers and pleadings with a loud cry and tears to the one who could rescue him from death. And the Most High heard his prayers because of his deep reverence for the Most High. Even though Yahushua was the Most High's son, he learned obedience from the things he suffered. Alright? And that's what we have to go through, man. You know? Again, within us taking this Passover, which is now another memorial of us, glorifying Yahushua for what he did, it puts us in a spirit where we have to be obedient just as he did. What did Yahushua tell the sons of Zebedee? Are you able to drink the cup that I'm about to drink of? Hell yeah. That's the mindset that we gotta have, man. This cup is very bitter. Alright? But guess who did it first? Yahushua did. So without a doubt, it is possible, man. As Yahushua told the disciples, nothing is impossible if Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua is with you. Alright? So let's get that word for obedience real quick. Alright? It goes back to the Strong's G 52:18. The word there is hypokoe. And it says compliance, submission. Alright? It says obedience rendered to anyone's counsels, and obedience shown in observing the requirements of following Yahushua, which in essence is what, that word means. I don't want you want to say it. Alright, but yeah, this is what we got to go through, brothers. This is the condition of the battle. Alright? Verse 8. Even though Yahushua was the Most High's son, he learned obedience from the things he suffered. In this way, the Most High qualified him as a perfect high priest. And what are we striving for? To be back in that first estate of being a nation of kings and priests. So what do we have to do? We have to carry that qualification of what Yahushua did, of being faithful unto death and conquering the last enemy. And I think it's in 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter, where it speaks about how death is swallowed up in victory, man. Alright? By us having faith in Yahushua, we've overcome everything, man. But again, through us being put in that fucking last temptation, that last trial of affliction, it's really going to test our inner character and see whether or not we're about that. So we got to be ready, man. Reading on, it says, in this way, the Most High qualified him as a perfect high priest, and he became the source of eternal salvation for all those who obey him. And Yahweh designated him to be a high priest in the order of Melchizedek. Man, that is heavy. Alright? So that's what Yahushua did for us, man. And now we follow suit as Yahushua is the forerunner of our salvation. So to end it off, let's hit Wisdom of Solomon 3 and start at the top. It says, but the souls of the righteous are in the hand of Yahweh, and there shall no torment touch them. Now when you go a chapter prior to this, matter of fact, let's get the points. But it shows the mindset of Esau testing the hell out of us, man. Seeing whether or not we're about it, and seeing whether or not the Most High is going to come through for us, which he will. Okay? Wisdom of Solomon 2 and 16. This is the mindset of an Edomite. and what these elite bankers are ultimately thinking of, man. It says, "We are esteemed of him as counterfeits. He abstaineth from our ways as from filthiness. He pronounceth the end of the just to be blessed, and maketh his boast that the Most High is his Father. Let us see if his words be true, and let us prove what shall happen in the end of him. For if the just man be the son of the Most High, he will help him, and deliver him from the hand of his enemies. Let us examine him with despitefulness and torture, that we may know his meekness and prove his patience. Let us condemn him with a shameful death, for by his own saying he shall be respected. Such things they did imagine, and were deceived, for their own wickedness has blinded them." So this shows you that the end has been written, man. The elect have already gone to victory. So everything, all this shit that Esau likes to talk, all this blasphemy, of course, it's coming from Esau, but it's all done and said to prove whether or not we're about it, man. Okay? So jumping into the next chapter, picking up at the second verse, it says, "In the sight of the unwise they seem to die, and their departure is taken for misery, and their going from us to be utter destruction, but they are in peace." So some of us are going to die for this, man. As Revelation the 20th chapter tells us, some will be beheaded for the word that they have inside of them. Alright? But through the faith that we have, we understand that death is nothing more but a transition of power. Alright? We'll be back. We'll definitely be back in a better body, in a better spirit, and with that joint hair, that joint hairship, of what Yahushua has been given, which is all power. Man. It says, "For though they be punished in the sight of men, yet is their hope full of immortality. And having been a little chastised, they shall be greatly rewarded. For the Most High proved them, and found them worthy for himself. As gold in the furnace has he tried them, and received them as a burnt offering. And in the time of their visitation they shall shine, and run to and fro like sparks among the stubble. They shall judge the nations, and have dominion over the people, and their Lord shall reign forever. They that put their trust in him shall understand the truth. And such as be faithful in love shall abide with them, for grace and mercies to his saints, and he has care for his elect." Alright? So with that, man, it's getting to the time where, Jay got to make moves. But again, brothers, this is the reality of what's coming our way in these latter days, man. Alright? And coming into the Passover, we have to pray to the Lord that he gives us the spirit to be able to stomach what's coming down the pipeline. Alright? So, with that, man, Lord willing, this is an edifying lesson. As always, giving all praise to our power, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachakodash. Double honor to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings unto the elect. Shalom.